Wilder woke up and felt like he was lying on a big, soft bed. The bed was very comfortable. It was better than the wood he used in the mountain. There's even a soft body pillow. He suddenly felt something strange. Then, he heard the moaning of a woman next to him. He woke up here. There was a woman with her back to him, but her body was very smooth. He lay naked next to her. He stood up immediately. What's going on? Where did this girl come from? Sebastian shook his head as he tried to remember what had happened. Then, his memories returned. He is in Ravenview City. For the past few years, he has led the Supreme Nexus in war in various places and brought fear to all his opponents. He returned to Ravenview City because his mentor arranged a wedding for him. He returned to acknowledge the engagement. He arrived at night in the city. The sun had just set for a night owl like him, so he went to a bar, where he unknowingly got drunk. So he took a room in a nearby hotel. While he was still drunk, a woman knocked on his door. He opened the door to let her in. What he didn't expect, the woman jumped on him the moment he entered. He was very emotional when he hugged her. Then, Sebastian slapped his forehead. He drank too much last night and can't remember what happened next. At that moment, the woman turned around. He was excited to see her face. Her eyebrows are natural, as if they were carefully painted. His eyelashes were long and it was as if the wind blew every time he blinked. His nose was elegant, as if it had been replicated by an expert sculptor. Her lips were soft, plump, and slightly curved in a sweet and complacent smile. Sebastian had seen many beautiful women before, but none of them could compare to the one in front of him now. He is not realistic. Suddenly, the amazing body curves. His eyes were staring at her and he couldn't help but swallow. After stretching, the girls opened their sleepy eyes and immediately saw Sebastian's slightly wrinkled face. Their eyes met as if time stopped for a moment. Then, the woman screamed very loudly. "Girl, you're too loud. People will think I did something to you," Sebastian said playfully. The woman immediately sat down and covered herself with a blanket. He looked confused and scared. "Who are you? And why am I here?" "That's what I should ask you. This is my room." Sebastian lay on her side and supported her head with his hand as he stared at the girl. The more he looked at her, the more beautiful she became for him. He is very pleasing to the eye. The woman looked around and noticed that he was not in her room. He was stunned by what he realized. He was drunk yesterday. Did he enter the wrong room? He looked under the blanket and saw that she was naked. All kinds of negative emotions such as sadness and powerlessness engulfed her as her tears flowed. He looked angrily at Sebastian and said, "You forced yourself on me." He smiled at her full of charisma. "What do you mean? You took the lead last night. If you were ugly, I would have pushed you away. It wasn't, so I couldn't refuse you. Besides, my mentor told me not to refuse a girl's wishes." Shameless beast. Sebastian was slapped by a woman named Lillian Smith. As if he was going to tear her apart, Sebastian got up. "That's enough. You attacked me last night." "Shut up," Lillian screamed, but then she hugged her knees and started crying the next moment. He knew that everything that happened last night was not Sebastian's fault. He was Drinoga, and he went straight to her. He was filled with remorse as he wept over his negligence, so he took drugs. Even though she managed to escape the animal that drugged her, she still ended up in the hands of another man. Lillian raised her head to look at Sebastian. He has a little mustache and messy hair. He looks like a ragtag barbarian. Lillian had kept her virginity for over 20 years, but she gave it to a man like Sebastian. She felt even sadder than she thought as her tears continued to flow. "Turn around. I want to get dressed. I've seen everything. Do you really need to turn your back?" Sebastian stared, But when he saw Lillian's angry expression, he gave up and turned away. He looks more dignified dressed. His clothes are branded. He is obviously rich. Don't be sad. I will take responsibility if necessary, Sebastian said with a smile. And how do you do that? Do you have the ability to do that? Lillian's eyes flashed as she looked at Sebastian's simple attire. I know what you're thinking. These clothes look cheap, but I have money. I can provide for you. Even if you give birth to a dozen of my children, I can still provide for you. Sebastian was complacent. He is the founder of the largest corporation in the world, the Phoenix Corporation. He has over trillions of assets. It's a small problem to feed 100 people, let alone a dozen. That's enough. I really hate arrogant men like you. I am Lillian Smith, the heir of the Smith family. I have many lovers. I don't need you to provide for me. Lillian was filled with him. He took a wad of money from his bag and threw it at her. Take this money and leave. Don't show me anything again. Sebastian's expression fell. What does this mean? Isn't it clear yet? This is payment for what you did last night. Lillian turned to leave after saying that. Stop. Explain yourself. Sebastian was embarrassed. He gave her money after something happened to them? Who does he think he is? Lillian doesn't want to talk to him anymore. So he continued walking. Sebastian quickly stood up from the bed and grabbed her arm. Let me go. Lillian wanted to break free, but his grip was too tight. Since you treat me like a prostitute, another round of service will be given for free. Remember to leave a good review after my service. Sebastian ran to him on the bed after he said that. You animal, let me go. I will kill you. Lillian felt panicked and angry as she fought with all her might. Naturally, Sebastian didn't plan to rape her, even though he was embarrassed by his words. He didn't want to disobey those he loved. So he just wanted to scare him. Suddenly, Lillian stopped fighting, but her tears started to flow. Hey, why did you stop fighting? Sebastian saw that he was no longer fighting, so he stopped what he was doing. Do it if you want. But this is the last time. Don't show me anymore. But I won't let you go that easily, Lillian sighed. You're too fierce. I don't want it anymore. Forget it. Go away, Sebastian said as he got off on top of her. He adjusted his clothes for a moment before he went to the door. He hadn't gone far before he grabbed her chest with a hurt expression. Then, he fell to his knees as his face turned pale. Sebastian quickly approached and felt her pulse. His expression became serious. Then, he picked her up and started undressing her. Lillian looks like she's having a hard time. His eyes were full of anger and sadness. He has a severe congenital heart disease and he thought it might be the end of his life. When he thought of exploiting her before he died, it was as if he wanted to kill himself at that moment. Lillian hurried to put them on his clothes, then spin again.